Welcome to the Scoop Order. Happy Halloween. We got some trickeration in store for Penn State. A new offensive lineup has been announced. Nevadabuck is going to bring that. He had that first. Just like Buckeye Scoop, where we usually have stuff first. That's why all of our competition likes to watch us, because we usually nail it. So we got to teach them what's really going on inside the Woody Hayes. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell if you guys want to do something stupendous, because again, we bring you the intel from inside the Woody Hayes first. It is a very leaky ship at this point. A lot of people are talking, so we have a lot of intel. So Buckeye Scoop has never been more powerful. It's never been better. It's absolutely outstanding. So we appreciate you guys that have been growing this channel, all of our regulars on here. But if you want to help us out in a humongous way, give us a subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to us on Spotify. If you have an iPhone, you can do both. It might take maybe 90 seconds to subscribe to both, completely free. Helps us out tremendously. We appreciate you guys have been heeding the call of that, because again, we wouldn't be pushing it if we weren't. You know, it's a line item in our company that we haven't been growing the way that we needed it to. So we appreciate you guys helping us out. Again, our YouTube is absolutely phenomenal. 33,000 subscribers. Thank you. Keep spreading the word on that. But again, the Apple Podcasts and Spotify has been kind of lagging behind. So if you guys could just click on that, it's just a huge help. It's completely free, super easy to do, and again, it takes 15 seconds. It's a great way to really support us. So again, I appreciate you guys that support us each and every night. You're part of the show. With that being said, I got to bring in the guy who had it first, the guy that broke the information on the new starting offensive lineup. Nevadabuck broke this on BuckeyeScoop.com. Again, if you guys want concierge access to Nevadabuck NI to talk to us all day, every day, and be a part of the best community in the history of Ohio State football, join BuckeyeScoop.com. There's no better companion for you. There's no better concierge service for you than joining with us. Because again, if you guys like this podcast, you guys like this chat, and you guys like to kick it with us, the website is like this chat 23 hours a day. We go for about an hour a night on here, but I mean, our website is absolutely crushing it right now, and it's led by Nevadabuck. And Nevadabuck, I guess you can break the news. The breaking news is that there's a new starting offensive lineup. What is the projection from you, Nevada? I know that you've sourced it up. You've got a lot of great sources on this. What is the projected starting lineup versus the Penn State Lions?
Yeah, so some interesting things moving around. You know, we've talked about the different options that Ohio State has. We've talked about, is the potential for, Donnie Jackson to move, what's been going on with Carson Hinzman, where does Austin Seyerveld work into this? What about Luke Montgomery? We've talked about all those different things. But final answer for the starting lineup for Saturday: Donnie Jackson left tackle, Carson Hinzman left guard, Seth McLaughlin center, Tigra Tishkabulila right guard, Josh Fryer right tackle. So that's what they're going to roll out there when it starts up. Let me tell you the reasons why I really like this. We've talked about Carson Hinzman, but Carson, you're talking about a guy who started at center last year for Ohio State, 12 games or 11 games, whatever, with double-digit games, including games at Notre Dame at night, at Wisconsin, at Michigan. And if you're honest with yourself, think back on those games as a fan and go, man, do I remember like just thinking, wow, the center's just getting killed in those games or not? I sure don't. And I watched the games carefully, and I thought he more than held his own. Was he great? Was it? No, I'm sure there's stuff they could do. He was a redshirt freshman, but he played. He's been in those big game environments, and I thought he acquitted himself well. I mean, at Notre Dame, at Wisconsin, Notre Dame and Michigan were two highly regarded offenses. With Michigan having the great offensive line and Harbaugh and Blake Corum and J.J. McCarthy, and we outgained them. And so Carson Hinzman was part of that experience up there of outgaining them on the road at Notre Dame, at Michigan. And so I'm thrilled to see him sliding back in at left guard. I like him on the interior. Him right next to Seth, I just think gives you another really smart guy who knows the line calls, knows the plays, isn't going to go the wrong direction on a sweep, and that brings us to Donnie Jackson. I think, and this may be a crazy point of view, and I'm okay with that, but I think Donnie's better suited at tackle than he is at guard. I think the way he plays just seems to fit more of that dancing bear left tackle side as opposed to that brawler left guard. That doesn't mean he's not tough. That doesn't mean he's not strong. That doesn't mean that he can't hold the point of that. I think he's going to do well out there at left tackle. Now, do I think he's going to immediately move out there and it's going to be seamless and flawless and over? No, but I think this combination is by far our best combination, our most experienced combination, and the one that I can tell you from the people who have been watching, it's looked good this week in practice. So I think Ohio State likes where they're at with it. I think Ohio State likes the combinations, and I think Ohio State's going to be able to run their offense pretty much without limitation with these guys in there. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see it on Saturday, and as always, I'll offer the disclaimer: could something change? Sure, something could change. But I think I got this one. I'm pretty well sourced up on that, so I think I got this one. But we'll ultimately all see on Saturday morning. But I think that's what they're going to roll. They're going to roll with experience, and I think it's a smart move for the Buckeyes.
I mean, it's weird. Some people think it's strange because with Carson, I've said this basically every night of the show for the last week or so since we've had these injury bugs. And I'm like, I'd love to see another program that has a 12-game starter on the O-line who doesn't play at all. And they've rotated Austin Sarveld and Luke Montgomery and Zen Mikulski. And, I mean, it's 3 or 4 guys, that have jumped in front of a guy that started 12 games last year. And again, Nevada, it wasn't like he only played the early season schedule of Akron and Western Michigan and, the Citadel and whatever. It's like he was playing like real teams. Played Michigan. So again, you can turn the film on versus Graham and Kenneth Grant. I mean, the two of the best tackles in the country. Like I don't understand why people would be upset that a guy that we have the luxury of having a 12-game starter from last year who is also a center, and a center's got to make the calls. And again, for people that don't realize how important a center is, like go watch the Missouri game where Matt Jones, a great kid, did not know the calls. So it made the entire offensive line look like they'd never practiced before. They looked terrible. So I'm really excited for Carson. I think this is an opportunity at redemption. This is an opportunity to go make a name for himself. It's an opportunity to go, really get after some guys. And again, like this is one of those deals where it's probably different now that I'm not an active player and I'm just, I do this with you guys and, Nevada and I own Buckeye Scoop and we're on here every night and we're talking and we're giving you guys the best information. But, I think that there's a humongous opportunity for Carson for redemption where he could, become kind of a hero, a legend, come off the bench, play well. It honestly, with less of a dramatic flair, it kind of reminds you of in 2013 when Marcus Hall got ejected up at Michigan, did the double bird thing. Dontre Wilson got ejected. Marcus got ejected. They're fighting, swinging, whatever. And Pat Elflein had to come off the bench as a redshirt freshman and play like basically the whole entire game. And Pat was, I don't want to say he was flawless. He was pretty close. I mean, you don't remember his name being called. And again, Nevada made a great point when he talked about how, like when we watched the Notre Dame game last year and you watched the Michigan game, you watched, the Penn State home game where, again, he started versus Penn State last year. So some of these guys are the same guys. So, it's not like they went out and got 30 portal guys. Like a lot of these guys are the same guys that he played against last year and we won. And it was a tight game until it wasn't, but it was a pretty competitive game until it wasn't. But I just think that, I think that I'm so excited for Carson. Like, I think that he's a great kid. I think he's a kid that, he like I said, don't take my word for it because I have no relationship with Carson. I don't even know the kid. But like when Mickey Marotti gives you the Iron Buckeye 2 years in a row, it tells me that you're a worker. You like to grind. You like to put in the hours because again, Mickey doesn't do that for some sort of a political, let's spread my political influence and let me promote a kid that maybe might not be that good, but I like him, or he's the first guy in the weight room. Like he only does that for guys that are dudes. Like it's a really hard thing to earn. And I'm just excited because, like again, we the thing about Ohio State fans, and I say this all the time, this isn't, I mean, it's a negative to some people, but, if you ever have a bad game, a bad play, a bad effort, like Ohio State fans never forget, ever. I mean, they are as vicious of a group of people as there is in the college football spectrum, which, again, I know that sounds nasty, but I think it's true, and I also think that I'm fine with it. Because again, I love Ohio State fans. I hope that passion never dies. So again, I'm the rare person that, like, I don't mind if we don't play well, if we get called to the carpet and we get held accountable. And I know that there's lines, and a lot of people, there's some guys that like go over the line, but with Carson, Nevada, and I'll pose this to you, but if he would have had a negative performance or a poor performance, and he started 12 games last year. The only game he didn't play was the worst game that we played all year on offense. And again, obviously, Kyle McCord takes off, Devin Brown gets hurt, so you're down to Lincoln. So it doesn't look real smooth. But if Carson would have had his moment where he screwed the pooch, didn't show up, didn't play well, gave up pressure, sacks, whatever, don't you think that would be at the forefront of Ohio State's fan base's minds? Because again, it's kind of how we roll. Like, I mean, if somebody has a bad instance, like again, like the Ryan Hamby catch versus Texas, or the flip of it's like the Jake Ballard catch versus Oregon in the Rose Bowl, like people always remember your biggest moment. So if you're the O lineman that has a bad game, that's what you're going to be known for. It's not going to be the other, 95% of games that you play well. It's just going to be the one game where you played poorly. But does it strike you, Nevada, that you can't really think of a negative or a poor play that Carson played last year that really cost us? Because again, I think that he was solid. Again, centers are not they're not the easiest people to follow because nobody really watches the center unless you're like an O-line coach who's at the game. But he never had that moment. He hung in there versus much better players than he's seeing this weekend. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of gone through my memory banks. So a lot of times I watch the games, and the first time I watch the game just to kind of see how I feel about all the players, and then after that you can do a little bit more study, a little bit more film review, focus on guys, offense, defense, or special circumstances, whatever it might be. But I literally don't remember ever thinking last year, "Wow, our center's getting killed." And I'm not saying that didn't happen, because and Seth clearly's playing at a high level. I have no problem with him coming in and doing the job, but I just don't remember it. And maybe, I'm sure it might have happened, but it does not immediately jump to mind. So in my mind, I always had Carson I thought he was fine. Not great. I didn't think road grader, greatest center of all time. But for a redshirt freshman to start at center at Ohio State, that was rare air for me. I thought was a tremendous accomplishment, and that's one of the reasons why I was so excited about Carson. And then you see him kind of get passed up. They bring in another center. He's kind of the forgotten man. They don't play him in the Cotton Bowl, and then he goes out and gets Iron Buckeye for the second year in a row, and that doesn't make him a combine warrior or just a workout kid, but man, that is hard to do. And you look at the people that he was there with. I think what was it? Cody Simon, JJ. I mean, he was in good company there in the Iron Buckeye thing. So this is a kid who's a hard worker, who's dedicated to his craft, who's not a quitter, and is hanging in there. So if there's anybody that I was ever rooting for hard to have a good game, and I invariably first I know he'll have bad plays. He'll have plays where he won't be great, but just hang in there, Carson. Just do the best you can. Just continue to battle, and I'm really hoping he has a good game. And I'm cautiously optimistic that he will. I think that a lot of experience there on that left side between Donnie and Carson. Got probably 40 starts or whatever it is. So I'm excited to see him out there. And again, huge challenge for him, but huge opportunity. This is why Carson came to Ohio State, and I'm sure after he got passed over, he wasn't sure that was ever going to come again. Well, here it is. This is your moment, so go get it done.
And I can just tell you from being in his shoes, where he's kind of had it taken away from him. Because I'm sure that when he started the first 12 games as a freshman, he's probably thinking, I'm going to have 50 starts, and I'll be a captain, and they'll promote me as an All-American candidate. And then all of a sudden, they turn the oxygen off on him and all of a sudden he can't play at all. I couldn't imagine how excited I'd be if I was him. The only thing I can really compare it to is when, I was watching the 2005 Penn State game just because I like, it's Halloween. I like to enjoy pain where we lost and Tom Bahali hit Troy Smith at the end of the game and he did a somersault and fumbled and it iced the game and we were trying to drive and score. And like, I never gave up a pressure to Tamba, but when I tore my knee up, I couldn't play anymore. So we put Ryan Hamby and Alex Boone out there on 108, and it was the pass pro 108, and we didn't block him. And he came off the edge and killed Troy, and it was heartbreaking. But, I think that, when I was hurt and I was out for basically 3 weeks in the middle of the 05 season, like when I first got to get back out there, I was talking about being possessed and a psychopath and The Exorcist, and all, but I was like all of that. 'Cause I was so excited to play again. I was so excited to win my seat back. Again, I always acted like, if I was the right tackle, like it was like the Iron Throne. Like, I mean, when someone else is sitting in your throne, you don't take that lightly, and you want to get it back. Which again, I know that's still traumatic, but like, I didn't like anyone sitting in my chair when I was playing, and when I could take it back, I threw him out and made him back to being a backup. But I just, I think if you're Carson, man, I couldn't imagine being how excited you would be and the opportunity you have versus a really good Penn State front. And I mean, you have a chance to be physical. And again, I don't want to go over the top rope or off the top rope on our own line, but we need to be a more physical outfit. We don't put guys on the ground. We don't finish guys. And that's, I think, starting at the top, that's something that starts with Ryan Day. And again, I like Ryan. Like, I'm not trying to bang on him, but it's just like with Urban, it was a different level of physicality, and we wanted it to be nasty and hard to go against. And like one of the hallmarks that I used to always say to Jack Me Horton Oral is that I'm like, we're going to be the best combo blocking, and a combo is a double team, best combo blocking team in the nation, and we're going to be the hardest group in the country to go against, because that's like a real easy metric is like, how hard is it to go against you? What does it take to break them? And we're the guys that are going to stand up and stomp guys. And that's something that I think that is kind of eroded. And again, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to be Mr. Whatever. But like, we had genuine guys that would pulverize guys. I don't think we're as talented or as athletic as this group, but they could get off the rock and get rolling. All right, we got a bunch of super chats. We get rolling. Nevada, any thoughts before we dig into these?
No, look, big game. It's just going to be fun. As a fan, man, just sit back. Don't be nervous. Don't be uptight. Just enjoy this game for what it is. It's a great college game. The Penn State fans are going to be loud and nasty, and it's a great challenge for Ohio State. Great chance to showcase the Buckeyes, and one more chance to see this great Buckeye team in a premier game against a great opponent. So just enjoy the game.
Yeah, and like, they're gonna. I can't get upset. And again, if you guys go to the game, enjoy it, because the atmosphere is going to be absolutely amazing. I wish it was a night game so that you guys, if you haven't been to a Penn State, Ohio State night game, go to one where we're like a 17-point favorite so that we have a really good chance of winning. But I'm just telling you, when you're a player and you go to that road game and you walk in the stadium and it's sleepy, Michigan State, Purdue, Indiana, like sleepy, you got to really kind of rig it up so that you can get ready to roll. You go to Happy Valley, man. I mean, that's the best part about it is it's like it is like, when you walk in that stadium, it's like what they give those horses those little drugs that let them know that they're about to go run the Kentucky Derby, and they get all their nostrils and they're all flared up and ready to go. That's what it's like. Like you walk out on that field, man, and the fans are just vile, terrible, nasty human beings, and they say all kinds of crazy stuff to you. And like, that's my favorite thing in the entire world. Like, I mean, there's nothing in the world I'd like more than when I know that people hate me and we can go bury them alive and ruin their nights and ruin their sweet expenditures and all that. And that's why, the 05 game, it sucked because I got hurt. But then I always said when we went out there and we just beat them we beat them like a new guy in prison, man. And it felt so good. And that's why, like, again, I keep saying, I've said it 1,000 times this week, these guys have such a great opportunity this week because a lot of people are on the fence. Nevada and I, we dive off the bridge head first. Like we don't look, and we want the guys to win, and we want the guys to be good. I mean, there's some people that are allegedly media people that are picking us to lose, and they're packing the tent up, and it's basketball season. That ain't Nevada night. And again, it's not because we're just diehard blind Ryan Day fanboys. It's more because like again, we're gamblers. We like to look at numbers and we like to win, and so again, if we're looking at stuff that all makes sense, like I'm like, well. I mean, again, if Carson comes in and plays, like a B-ish type game, and Donnie plays a B-ish game, they help Donnie a little bit. Like, we've got advantages at every other position, skill-wise, across the board. I mean, they're starting Julian Fleming at receiver, and he couldn't get open on me. So again, it just kind of is what it is. So
now I got a question for you. When you tapped out and quit in the 05 game, do you think the old head offensive linemen were like, that Barton's soft because he took himself out of the 05 game for it?
God. Yeah, I mean, I was so distraught because like the guy that I owned literally got the sack that ended the game, and I was like, you son of a bitch. I was so bad because I was just like, of all the times in my life where I've been upset, it was like that was it, because I was like, I handled that guy the whole 04 game and the whole beginning of the 05 game. And then, we leave Hamby on him. And then, Alex, and Alex he became a really good player in the NFL. So, but Alex is a true freshman. So, again, that's why I was nervous about putting a tackle out there who's, and Alex had never really played. I mean, he played like, at the end of the Miami of Ohio game, didn't play against Texas. But, in that Penn State game, we didn't have a choice. He was our third tackle, and he's a true freshman. And he was out there, and, he helped out TJ versus Jay Alford. And I was like, there's no way in the world I would help TJ versus Jeffrey. When we had Hamby, who was a terrible player and terrible blocker, against Tom Bahali. And Tom Bahali is a first-round pick defensive end. And Tom just runs right past him. He hits Troy. Troy does a backwards somersault, fumbles the ball, and Penn State recovers. And it ends. And that was a drive to tie the game. I mean, it was 10-7. It was 17-10. And so we're driving a little bit, but Troy was completely blindsided. He got smoked, and there's no way. Because again, I watched this game again last night. I was like, there's no way in the universe I would ever leave Ryan Hamby one-on-one versus anybody. Like, I mean, I don't care if it's your Chihuahua. Like, Ryan Hamby couldn't block your Chihuahua, so I would go out and help. I would leave TJ on his island. Say, TJ, you got to man up and you got to buck up and go block a guy for once. And I was gonna go, help Ryan. And again, and TJ and Jay Alford had good battles, and TJ would usually beat him. But that's when when it's a long yardage and known pass rush situation. Like, there's no way I'm helping TJ on that. Like, TJ, you gotta go win this one-on-one. I gotta go help Hamby, because basically, like, when you put Tom Bahali versus Hamby, it's basically like Tom Bahali versus air. So I mean, I better get out there, or else we're gonna lose. And I'm sitting there in my red sweats on the sideline, and I see the guy that I owned like hit Troy and do a backflip. And I mean, you want to talk about a loud stadium? Maybe that might have been the loudest that stadium's ever been in the history of Penn State University. I mean, it was deafening, because like you saw our quarterback do a backflip and fumble, and I mean, it was just like the perfect Molotov cocktail to get those guys ignited. But yeah, that was upsetting, because I was so angry that I couldn't play. But I knew that I couldn't play. I was like, if I go out there, I can't play. Like, my knee's gone. If your knee's shot and you go out against a first rounder, like, you're just gonna either hurt yourself or you're gonna get someone killed because you can't move well enough. But yeah, that was disappointing. But 07, I got the get back. That was the good thing about 07 is we got the get back on everybody except Illinois. Illinois, of course, beat us and knocked us from number 1 to number 7, and then we fell all the way back up to number 1 for the game. But yeah, it was interesting. All right, Larry Daniels 1. Thanks for the 5. Thanks for being awesome member as well. It says, I believe adversity brings out the character of a team. What do you think, Nevada? I'll let you go first. Nevada OH. What are your thoughts, Nevada? Do you think adversity brings out the character of a team?
I think it's certainly. I mean, I think it's true with everybody. I think you find out about people when things are down, and not when things are going good. Everybody's happy. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's smiling. Everything's great. But when things start to go a little bit south, man, that's when you find out who's in the foxhole with you, who's still there, who can handle the pressure. And I do think that those types of things bring people together, and it's the same thing that they try to do with with boot camp and other things, and using a military an example. But no, I think absolutely it does. And for this Ohio State team, I mean, I don't know if they faced real adversity. I mean, they lost at Oregon by a point, and that was kind of a shame. But now they're down a few pints in terms of injuries. They're going to Penn State. People are starting to doubt them. Fans are starting to turn on them. So in those situations, from a betting perspective, I love looking at good teams like that to bounce off a subpar performance, bring it back with one that's more up to their standards. And I think adversity is a big part of that, because I think for these guys, they know how talented this team is. They've heard all the stuff about how good this team is and how this team was assembled and how this team's national champion or bust. But now it's on them to make it happen. And I think that's why they'll come out and have a really big effort on Saturday. But yeah, I definitely think adversity plays a role.
I think like with adversity, when you're going through it, I always talk about how it's a good time to clear the deck and see who's really with you, who's really going to ride with you versus who's going to jump ship. And, I mean, Nevada, you've been through adversity in your life, and you've been through teams that have had adversity, I've been through a ton of adversity. And it's like, you really figure out who is with you, who's not, and who you can count on. And that's kind of like how this season is. 'Cause again, I mean, you see some teams, like, they lose a game, and it's like, I mean, you look at Florida State, I mean, those guys just jumped off the ship. All those guys are driving their Lamborghinis to practice every day and stuff. I mean, they went from number 5 team just missing the playoffs, complaining, crying river, to 1-7, which is insane. But I think when you have an issue like with Nebraska, where we kind of hung on for dear life and it wasn't a great performance, like, you really can kind of see the true colors of people. And I think that it's important for these guys to realize that a lot of these people that are fake, they're not going to ride with you, like, through thick and thin. They'll ride when you're winning. They'll show up and root for you and be happy when you're winning. But like when times get tough, you get to see who really is with you. And that was something that was great about like the 14 season. Is like, we started off terribly. We played Navy, it looked like trash. Played Virginia Tech, we lost substantially, like 35-21 or whatever. So there were a lot of people that jumped off the ship at that point. But then all of a sudden, they started slowly, gradually working their way up, and it was just incredible, like, to watch how Urban dialed it up and got those guys to really fight and get after it a little bit. So I think adversity is fantastic. It's a great motivator. It's a great thing to get people get their attention. Again, I don't like losing games, but if you're intelligent, when you lose a game, you learn something. It's not win or lose, it's win or learn. And again, that might sound like some BS, executive coaching stuff, but to me, it's like, as long as you learn something from it, like, hey, maybe we're a little too big for our britches, we're a little, we got a little soft, practice is a little easy, like, whatever. As long as you learn from it and you can improve, then you've got a shot, especially the 12-team playoff. Because again, like, again, I don't like saying this out loud, Nevada, and I'm going to throw it to you right after this. You can correct me, but as long as we don't get just annihilated by Penn State and we lose a close game, and again, I'm not advocating losing, but if we lose a Penn State close game, we're still going to be in the playoffs. So, Nevada, do you agree with that sentiment, or am I just absolutely crazy with that? Mute boy.
It's hard to even consider that on 2 days before the game. But yes, in the unlikely scenario that happened and you lost it number 1 and number 3 or number 4 or whatever it was on the road in close games, yeah, you're still in. Obviously not the optimal type of situation, but I really think the game's shaping up well for Ohio State. I like the way that things are trending. I like the way the defense is playing. Aller's going to be limited. He's always limited a little bit, but he's going to be even more limited. And I think they're going to really have to keep an eye on him before they go to that backup. And I think they're going to be wonking around with their offense a little bit. And I think this is a game for the OSU defense to take over, make some big plays, get some game-changing turnovers and kind of blow this thing open.
Yeah, I think it's going to be It's gonna be one of those games where there's a real opportunity here. Because again, the thing about football, especially this time of the year, is like we're not the only ones with injuries. I mean, they've got their quarterback could be out, dinged up, or less mobile, whatever. So people have to realize like it's not an Ohio State centric issue when there's a major injury like we had with Josh Simmons. David Furness, thanks for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. If you have a question, toss that in the chat. I will try to find that. Jacob Dillon, thank you for the 20. 38-10 Buckeyes. I'm telling you all, the hype will get to Penn State and they will crumble. Get that dog mentality. We do so as an underdog. Everyone I have seen is picking Penn State, but us Buckeye faithful. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I here's my thing. I always look at history, and in historically, I think that game up there in Penn State is always a tough one, a close game, with the Buckeyes winning. So I for me, that's kind of how I see the game. If one team's going to blow out the other team, it's going to be Ohio State. It's going to blow. They're not going to blow Ohio State out. No chance. No way. But I've just seen too many really good teams go up there and play barn burners, so I'm not predicting a big, like, lopsided Buckeye victory, but I am definitely predicting a victory. We're better than them. We're better than them at every position and at every key position. So in general, when that happens, the better team should win, and that's why we'll get it done on Saturday.
I mean, like, to me, like the mental block over Penn State is substantial because since 11, we've lost to them one time. We're in 2024. So, I mean, they've lost to us 13 out of 14. They beat us in 16 on the funky blocked field goal. But, again, you can't count on that. And we've literally owned those guys. So I'm excited about what these guys can do. David Furness, again, thanks for the deuce. If you have a question, I think I see your question coming up next. So I'll throw that up in a second. Maurice Clairdat, thanks for the deuce. Seems Scum suddenly has deep pockets. What changed, Nevada? I think Dave Portnoy is trying to buy a quarterback, but what are your thoughts on that?
Nothing's changed. It's just talk, guys. I mean, like, this is all just bluster from Michigan, trying to give themselves, hope, and they're trying to create this illusion of momentum. I was talking to somebody the other night. They're like, "Well, Michigan's really turned it up," and I'm like, "Look at their recruiting classes. That one weird 5-star lineman from Kansas. That's other offers were Missouri, Auburn, Stanford, like none of the big dogs. So that one there, like 4 stars, and then like 11 3-stars. So, like, that's their recruiting class is currently sitting 14th in the country. All their best players are leaving, all of them. And they like, where do they go? So no, I think this is just spin. This is just Michigan trying to spin that they're getting into the game, that they're going after stuff. The stuff that they're doing right now is just what Ohio State does day in and day out, every day. The difference is we don't just like jump up and down and try to write national articles about it because, wow, we're really trying to get a quarterback into, like, welcome to 2024 Michigan. Like, this is how the game's played. And if they can get Underwood away from LSU and get him, that's great. But Underwood's not stupid. He's, no matter how much money he's going to get in NIL, and I believe that LSU would match whatever, you got to play behind that crappy Michigan offensive line with that lousy staff with no playmakers, nothing. Good luck with that, dude. You literally might as well end your career right now. And, like it or not, LSU's had a good run of quarterbacks lately. And I'm sure he looks at that and he's like, why would I risk it by playing for the staff? And let's forget the NCAA sanctions. The NCAA sanction stuff, we'll put that aside and put that in the whatever bin. I'm just talking about strictly for development and your future and your path in the NFL. Playing at Michigan with this staff, no way. They're going to lose 6 games this year, and they should have lost 8. So, but I mean, right now, 6 losses for Michigan is the chalk. So just run that around in your head. That's pre-bowl. If they make a bowl, that they'll probably lose that. That'll be 7. So, I mean, this Michigan team is historically bad and losing all its best players. There's no like young talent and wow, they're going to be better next year. No, all the young players suck too. So, no, I don't believe the hype. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting finish for the season. David Furness, thanks for the 5. How's the team's mindset? I want a pissed off, angry team. Any chance we get that on Saturday? Well, I mean, if they're, and again, this is from just me starting 2 games at Penn State. There isn't an environment in the world that won't make you more pissed off than Penn State because the fans are nasty, they're vile. You're in a terrible locker room, so you're going to come out of the gate pretty hot and angry and pissed off. So I think that, if they're not, then they got to just go can everything. Like if they're not ready to go, and again, that's the thing that I give credence to with Ryan and Will Howard. He's like, well, that first drive against Oregon, I mean, that was about as masterful as you could ever get. And, it kind of slumped after that. But, I mean, those guys are ready to go, ready to play, ready to catch the ball, block. And I think we need a similar effort versus Penn State, Nevada. What are your thoughts? How is the team's mindset? And David wants a pissed off, angry team. Any chance we get that on Saturday? What are your thoughts?
I mean, they're in a great frame of mind. I mean, frame of mind will not be the reason, that they go out there. If they don't win the game on Saturday, it has nothing to do with the frame of mind. And they're a confident group. They're well prepared. They've got a great game plan, and they want to show. I mean, these guys have a lot of pride. I mean, this is a historically talented team. So they want to go out there and show how good they are. They want to kind of erase some of the bad feeling, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Um, you know, about what happened in the Nebraska game, but that goes to the coaching staff as well. Chip Kelly didn't have his best game, and I think they predetermined some calls for Will Howard. They were trying to save him some hits, and they ended up going 1 for 10 on third down. And when you go 1 for 10 on third down, you generally look pretty wonky on offense. Your offense slows down. You're not keeping the ball away. You're not keeping the defense rested, and that can make for a long afternoon in a game where they really had to kind of bow their back and come back. But I think they're in a great spot mentally because they're no longer they're not number one. They're not perfect.
Yep.
They're not the thing. I mean, they're a team that's taken a lot of abuse on social media. A lot of people questioning them, and generally when that happens, great teams generally rise up and play a big game. And I'm looking for them to play a big game.
And I think that's a great point because, like, you look back at that 14 team after the Virginia Tech loss, and it was cancel the season. Cause you're coming off of a Navy performance where we're just kind of scraping by, and we've got Joey Bosa and Ezekiel Elliott, and Braxton's gone. JT made his first and second start those first 2 weeks, and I mean, you remember Nevada because you're a message board guy. Like that was a dark period for Ohio State football, Ohio State fans. But the guys are, because again, all that really matters is the guys in the dressing room and the guys in the building. That's it. I mean, the rest of it is just straight. I mean, the fans the supporters are great, but they'll leave you at the drop of a hat. If we have a 6-7 loss season like that, horseshoe ain't gonna be filled up no more. Again, in 11, I lived it. It was not fun. But yeah, I think that these guys are motivated. I think that they're ready to eat, and I think that. Again, I've played at Penn State twice, and it is like liquid adrenaline. I mean, you walk on that field, man, and again, their game day environment is masterful. I mean, it's so cool. We get out there, and they got in the air tonight. They got Phil Collins playing and stuff at the night game, and I mean, it was just like I was like, this is amazing. This is fire, and every game is in a noon game snoozer. But yeah, they like I said, I'm excited for these guys. Again, like it's so easy to get fired up when you play against Penn State because the fans are right on top of you. And I mean, when you walk from the locker room, which they have the worst locker room in the United States, to the field, there's these steel barricades that like kind of it's kind of like it's like the WWF walkout, and they have their fans on both sides, and they're liquored up, crazy, saying the craziest stuff to you. And it's awesome. Like I said, it's like, how can you not be ready to go? How can you be flat when these people call you all these vile, terrible names? It's incredible. Review 2, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, brother. Curious on Will Howard. The guy grew at numbers, but he still doesn't get any recognition on any list or even NFL draft prospects, even less first day pick. What's going on, Nevada? Why the slate? Why is Will Howard not promoted like one of the best players in the country, even though he clearly is? What are your thoughts?
because Jerry Emig is the most incompetent sports information director in the history of Ohio State football, and this goes way beyond Will Howard. This goes back to every top player, Bosa's and Haskins and Fields and I mean Stroud and Paris Johnson. I mean, we don't win awards because he doesn't promote our players. I mean, he literally is incompetent. I mean, his main thing is to hobnob with the Star Wars convention guys there at the beat. That's his life, is making doodlies with those guys, and that's all he cares about. And so as a result, a guy like Will Howard has got gaudy numbers. The best player on what, in my opinion, was the best team in college football isn't getting there. But I mean, remember last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. won the Blitnikoff by a single vote. Paris Johnson didn't win Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the World over Peter Skoronski or whatever that was. So, like,
1-11 Northwestern.
1-11 Northwestern. I mean, just run that around in your minds. Like, it's the SID. It's literally the SID. Remember the days where Pace's Pancakes and some of the great promotions we had going on? Man,
Steve
this
Stout.
guy, he's just a suck up to the local beat guys, and that's what he likes to do, man. That is his element, and he loves that. You should see every now and then. What was it? What was that text that you got? You got put on some text thing or something accidentally. They sent you a text.
Oh God. Yeah,
it was.
I should publish that. It was him and all the beat writers going out for drinks and kicking it.
Where are we going for drinks? I've got
and somehow they put me on it. And I'm like, I'm sure they're not invited. This isn't there at Michigan State. This is at East Lansing. It's like, I'm like, well, I'm sure they didn't mean to click my name, but I'm on here in this whole group text, and I was like, yeah, it's spelled par for the course. Like, don't promote the guys. Go out and have your Bush Light or whatever cheap stuff you can afford to go out and do it. Because like with him, man, I just like Peter Skoronski was a mid first round pick, but they moved him to guard with the Titans. Paris is a franchise left tackle, can't miss. And again, the parents noticed this. They noticed, like, when none of our guys are up for awards ever. Like Caleb Downs, like my German Shepherd could promote Caleb Downs because he's had the hype train rolling for 2 years now. That has nothing to do with him. But like the rest of our guys, like Trey or Quinn, any promotion? Nope. Mecca, any promotion? Nope. JJ, a little bit. They added him to the Blitnikoff list, so great. But I mean, other than that, it's just like it's been a barren waste. And we've had guys like CJ Stroud never won a single award. Like Bryce Young lapped him. Heisman, Davey O'Brien, like all the major quarterback awards. CJ didn't win anything. Joey Bosa got beat out by the guy from Scooby Wright, the guy from Arizona, who was a 7th round pick.
Scooby Doo.
Like Joey Bosa was the 3rd pick in the draft. Like one of the best, probably the best defensive end we've ever had at school, maybe other than Nick. And he, like Scooby, I remember, and it was funny because when that went down, I was destroying Arizona, destroying Scooby Wright, because I was so angry that Joey Bosa wasn't getting his due. And I remember some idiot GA DM'd Mark Pantoni and said, could you please, why is your graduate assistant insulting our player? And how could you? And this is so unprofessional. And Pantoni said that to me, and I said, tell him I'm not an effing grad assistant, you douchebag. Like, I'm an executive. Like, I got an MBA. Like, get the F out of here, dude. And so again, when people want to come at me, just like respond to me. Like, don't try to go through a weasel and try to get to me. I mean, I'm not hard to find. Again, we've been doxxed, so you can find my address online because idiots that like to lose to us, they do that kind of stuff. So, again, I'm not hard to find. You guys have my email. You guys have, a lot of you guys have my phone number. So if you got a problem with me, just come find me. But again, when I'm right, I'm right. And I'm right a lot, like a ridiculously high accuracy amount at this point. And so, when I'm upset that Joey Bosa doesn't get promoted, because again, our guys are lazy, they're stupid, and they're not innovative. And it kills our program because, again, we have the number 1 recruiting class because Ohio State is so powerful that it covers up inefficiency. and I hate inefficiency. And that's something that we've got a lot of guys that don't work as hard as they used to in the Woody Hayes. There's a lot of guys that aren't as good at what they do at the Woody Hayes. And they've said that to me. They said, hey, I don't work as hard. Hey, I'm upset that I don't make more money. And again, that's part of the problem. And it's part of the reason why some of these guys need to get fire hosed out of there, because again, we need people that want to go to work every day and do their jobs and not complain about everything and not, oh man, Keenan Bailey makes more money than I do. So again, that's part of the issue, And again, if Ryan, I really like Ryan Day, and it's sad that he doesn't have smarter people around him, and that's the thing that kills him, because he genuinely, I think outside of Chip Kelly, he doesn't have many people that can bring an intelligent thought to him, and it kills us, to grow the program and to really help him out, because I think that there's a total lack of accountability right now in that building in a lot of areas. And he just doesn't know any better because he's trying to keep his head afloat and not get fired coming down the stretch. So, Nevada, Josh Dillon, again, he says, thanks for the 5. He says, am I the only one that would love to see Scum beat Oregon? Yes, I guarantee you are, because we're going to bet the house on Oregon. Chances are slim, but God, it will be funny. Nevada, is Dillon the only person that would love to see Scum beat Oregon? Again, there are like snowball chances in hell. And then there's that. Scum with no quarterback versus Oregon, high-powered, trying to go for the 1 seed in the playoffs. I can't see it. And you and I are both going to bet accordingly to that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, nobody should want that to happen, and
No.
it's not going to happen. I mean, Michigan can't defend the pass, and Oregon is.
Oh God,
they can throw the football. So yeah, Michigan's not going to win that game, nor should we want them to win that game. And we want Michigan to lose every time, 100-0, and that might happen on Saturday.
Is your boy Will Johnson playing, or is he sitting out? I didn't even look at that yet.
I think he's sitting out again.
So he's officially tapped the helmet. He's tapped out. Called it.
Yeah,
a career.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty pervasive going forward. Because again, the thing about when you tap out and you don't make the trip to Columbus is you don't really when you're on the team, but you don't travel to a game and the team loses, it doesn't feel like a loss. Like in 03 when I was a redshirt freshman, our guys went up to Michigan. That was the Tim Anderson and Craig Krenzel and all the guys that beat the Miami Hurricanes. So we had our seniors. They went up to Michigan, and they got punked by Michigan. But I didn't travel to the game, so it sucked to lose because I was on the team. But if you're not good enough, because again I was redshirting, so I wasn't even really eligible to play because they're holding me. If you don't even travel, it just doesn't feel like a loss because you're not even good enough to be there. So I mean, it is a loss on my record. I'm not trying to defy that, but I'm just saying if you're not at the game and you're not actively in the game and you're just kind of part of the team. It's kind of like being a recruit 2.0 where, if you're committed to Ohio State and they lose a game and you're a recruit, that doesn't feel like you lost. It feels like those guys lost. And so it's going to be interesting. Erwin Lichtenberg, thanks for the 5. He says, thanks for all you gents do for thee. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Again, Erwin, I appreciate that.
Just such a nice compliment. We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys being here and bringing great questions. The show's nothing without great questions and comments. So we appreciate that so much.
Yeah, and again, we try to bring you guys the truth, which again, that's impossible with the way that a lot of these schools do business. Because again, we're not owned. We're not enslaved by Ohio State like the rest of the media. So we try to give you guys the truth. And again, it's hard for people because they're force-fed narratives that they have to tell you guys. And I listen to some of it, and I'm just like, man, I'm glad we're not enslaved like you guys are. So we try to give you guys what's really going on. That's why we dropped the lineup tonight. We tell you how the Woody Hayes is going, how the players are, how the coaches are. Because we have a ton of – we've never had more sources than we do right now. It's absolutely crazy. So I had a text right before the show started, and it confirmed a bunch of stuff that's going into the game plan. So we'll have some more of that coming in the next day or two. D7 next for the 5. We talk about coaches losing games. But can you name any games, regardless of teams, that highlight an epic coaching job? Whew. I mean, to me, Truss and Mark D'Antonio versus Miami in 2002 is pretty epic because our defense shutting down McGahee, who obviously got his knee blown out, and Andre Johnson. Like, I think that's pulling out the stops. I think that I think Jim Tressel 2006 Michigan game is probably the crown achievement of his career, other than obviously being the Hurricanes, because we were a power running team, which is what your Tressel was very conservative and run the ball and stuff. And going into that '06 game, man, when we saw how Michigan played defense and how they had to disguise stuff, they said we're going to be spread. We're going to be like Texas Tech. We're going to throw every play, 5 wide receivers, and we've never done that before. So, but he knew that would take Michigan out of disguising their blitzes, and we could shred them because their secondary, their back end was not good, especially that versus Gonzo and Teddy. Teddy had a feast that day. So those are a couple that I think about. I think Urban versus Bama. I think Urban versus Oregon. Urban, before that Oregon game, they had like a week off to prepare, and Urban had those guys all lose 5-10 pounds from Saturday to Thursday or whatever to get them faster, leaner, because they knew Oregon was going to tempo. Urban would have 2 scout team huddles run plays versus the defense to kind of get them to feel experienced getting gassed out in a drive. And I think that that was beneficial because, again, like that, I was sitting next to you at that game, and it's just like our defense was ready to rock. And after that first drive where Mariota basically looked completely unstoppable, we shut them down. And it was, I think, in large part to what Urban did to kind of mitigate their speed. But what are your thoughts about it? Descending in next to the 5, he says, we talk about coaches losing games, but can you name any games, regardless of teams, that highlighted an epic coaching job? What are your thoughts?
I mean, Ohio State, Wisconsin, 2014 to kind of pull the team together. A defense that was giving up 23 points a game and go out there and shut out that Wisconsin team. I thought that was an epic coaching job. I mean, you were part of one, or you've been part of several, but I thought 04 Michigan, pulling it together and doing the things that you guys did against Michigan. Tressel, had a bunch of those. But, I mean, Ryan Day against Georgia. And, I thought that was a great game plan. I thought that was an Ohio State team that a lot of people had thought were dead and buried, and came back and darn near should have won that game. So, yeah, I mean, look, but I think that the way I'm taking the question is, at the end of the day, it's on the. I mean, look, the coaches can do so much, but the players got to execute, and that's, you and I both firmly, always and forever, man. Like, it's fashionable to yell at the coach, it's fashionable to yell at the coordinators or whomever, but at the end of the day, man, the players have to make plays, and a lot of times you call the best defense in the world, but if you don't cover the guy and the guy runs right past you, then you look like a moron. So stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, I blame the players a lot. And again, I know that that's not going to make me popular, but you could have the greatest plan in the world, and again, there's variances to it. Like, I mean, if it's the coaches didn't go over something enough, then maybe that's on the coaching staff. But players are going to make plays, man. I mean, like when Denzel gets cooked for 8 catches for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, that's. I don't know what Jim Knowles or Tim Walton are supposed to do, because he's their first team All-American preseason corner that, hey, dude, we need you to cover these guys. You got to go earn your check, And so, I don't know. And again, I'm probably, negative and whatever, but I think you have to get the players to go. And if they don't want to go, that's fine. C. Brown, thanks for the deuce. Offensive and defensive MVPs for the game. Scoop, appreciate you, man. I'm going to go Will Howard. Nevada, you can just shoot me for that, because that's the easiest answer in the world. Defensively, I think, God, it's so tempting to go JT Tuimoloau. I'm going to go Jack Sawyer, just because I think that they're going to give JT a lot of attention. It'll free up Jack, and Jack can go eat and hit that quarterback. Nevada, your thoughts? Offensive and defensive MVPs for the game. What are your thoughts?
I'm going J.J. Smith and Caleb Downs.
Yeah. Probably my next picks. Those are really good picks. But yeah, I mean, Caleb Downs is on our little betting app. If there was a super high favorite to be the MVP of the game, Caleb Downs is every single game. He's the MVP because he's really been playing well. Joshua Dillon, thanks for the 5, and I love the Kucherov AVI. Still saying we need a scoop bet segment on Friday steams before Saturday football games. What say you, Nevada and Kirk? Well, we bet on basically everything. I don't. I mean, Nevada and I. It's like, what did we eat for lunch? We probably place a bet on that. I mean, this is how Nevada and I are. We've just developed into this. We call each other 100 times a day to talk about random Saudi Arabian soccer games and whatever. But I feel really good about the Oregon money line. Now again, I could be crazy. It looks like Will Johnson is playing. I got 50 texts that said that he was playing this week, but I think Oregon with Dylan Gabriel, who in my mind is the Heisman favorite at quarterback, versus Michigan and a bunch of homeless people from the soup shelter or the soup kitchen, the homeless shelter playing quarterback. I think that's a huge advantage. So I like Oregon money line. Again, I'm conservative. Obviously, you could bet spread if you want, but I just think if Michigan beats Oregon outright, then it's just one of those days where hey, the man upstairs is trying to tell you to slow down your life a little bit, because I can't see how. They beat us. I think we're 100 times more talented than Michigan. I think Oregon is kind of on a mission at this point. I think that they've got really good skill to handle Michigan, and obviously, and Michigan can't score because they just run the ball and they have an archaic offense. Nevada, your thoughts? Josh Dillon says, still saying we need a Scoop Bets segment on Friday before the Saturday football games. What say you, Nevada and Kirk? And again, Nevada and I, we always like to find good value in the betting, but we also, if it's free money and it's a minus 650 or whatever the Oregon game is, then I'd still consider it, because again, you can get a little bit more money for your money. Your thoughts about it?
I mean, look, we pride ourselves on being honest on the show. There's just not a lot of equity in us giving out bets or picks to people, because when you win, people are happy, and when you lose, people just come at you. You know what I'm saying?
People want to kill us.
They want to kill you. So it's kind of like, I've learned over time that it's just not worth it, man. It's just not worth it, because some people, they get so angry when they lose, and they just don't understand that losing 48% of the time is kind of what you do. That's what gambling is. You hope you win 52, no. But they expect that you got to win every time, and that's why I've moved away from that. Even though I am Nevadabuck, and gambling is a big part of my everyday life and professional life and everything. I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's a lot of equity in it for Kirk and I to do that, just because people can't handle it. People get mad at us when Ohio State loses, like it's our fault. You know what I'm saying? Like guys, we're not playing.
We're not administrators. We're not the athletic director. We're not coaches. We're not players anymore. So it's like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. I mean, we talk about it, but we have zero control over it. And again, the people that do, some of them need to get fired. They're not doing their jobs. So again, but again, I'll think, because I mean, I'm like you. I don't like to give out. I feel the problem with me is I feel like I'm pretty good at picking winners, but I also feel terrible if I accidentally screw up and cost somebody money. And I've apologized. I gave Nevada some, two bad soccer teams play against each other, they're not going to score, and they score, and I felt terrible when they scored. You're like an idiot. So I was like, I'm so sorry, dude. But other than that, we've been doing pretty good. So. But I appreciate you, Josh. But I'm going to bet Oregon to win, because that just seems like, I mean, if Michigan pulls a miracle and beats number 1 or number 2 Oregon, then it's just not your day. It kind of is what it is. Samuel Crockett, thanks for the 20. If we lay an egg at Penn State, do we need to reevaluate where we spend NIL? What are your thoughts, Nevada?
I just hate the hypotheticals. It's like, well, if we lay it, I just feel like it's like we're just talking about the most negative possibilities, and I don't know. I don't even want to. I don't want to even invite that negative energy in there. And let's keep positivity. If something happens, then we can talk about what the fixes are. Because look, I think I learned a long time ago, and I learned from my brother. My brother, God rest his soul, was the smartest guy I ever met. And we had a business together, very successful business. And I would sometimes, being a young Nevada buck, I would come in there and I would gripe about something, and he'd look at me and he'd say, "Don't bring me the problem, bring me the solution." And it always struck me. I just thought he was so wise, man. It was so wise. So I think on this show, we try to focus on what are the solutions, because it's easy to bitch about the problems. It's easy to bitch about this or that, or this, we're soft, or this, or Barton tapped out in '05 because he was a softy pudding pop, or whatever, But like, we got to focus on solutions. And so we try to be a solutions oriented business. We try to be a solutions oriented website and solutions oriented podcast. So I'm going to stay on solutions oriented. I think they've done some good work on the offensive line. I like the pressure changes they went to on the defense last week, and I think that we're going to see the return of the RPO game. So I'm predicting a positive outcome on Saturday, and let's all keep our fingers crossed that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the correct mindset. I think that you have to, I think that it's hard to like. Especially for Ohio State to like reevaluate how you spend NIL, when I felt like we hit, like 6 home runs and a couple grand slams with our NIL. I mean, like, to ever get giving money to J.J. Smith or Will Howard or Quinshon Judkins or the guys that are coming back, Emeka Jackson, RJT, Caleb Downs, Julian Sane, Josh Simmons. I mean, I wish Josh Simmons' knee didn't explode at Oregon. That'd be great. But other than that, like, of all the teams in this country that I think should be proud and excited about how NIL is handled, I think it'd be us. Because, I mean, Nevada, like, again, I know that you are the effing king of hating to waste money. But, I mean, of all the guys that we spent serious money on this offseason, like, were any of them a waste? I mean, we didn't have another Victor Cutler. I know we saw Tyrone Malone, but he was kind of last year's project. But, like, the guys we got this year, man, I mean, it's almost astonishing how well they've played. But what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think they did a great job, and that's why you give credit where credit's due. You get, while we bag on Pantone, like, they did a really good job in terms of the evaluations on where they spent. Even Kazmarek. Kazmarek was a good value tight end right there, and when he's gone, we miss him. So no, I think they did a heck of a job recruiting, identifying, and give their money, and frankly, same thing with all the guys that came back. I mean, all the guys that came back, there's not one of them that I'm like, wow, I wish they'd have moved on. So no, I think Ohio State did a heck of a job in that area.
Samuel Crockett again, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being ultra member as well. I hope you're good, my friend. To follow up, you said all you meant is why not go big on the offensive line? Well, I think that, the hard part about the offensive line, and again, this is something that came up with David Sanders, is like, if David Sanders is getting some Herculean amount of money, what are the odds that he's a huge impact player next year? Like, I'm talking like lockdown, All-American, high All-Big Ten level tackle, pretty slim. And even like if you're a tackle that's coming to college, like, there's a shot you could redshirt. So, do you want to pay a guy a fortune? Again, I'm not giving a pass to people that don't pay O linemen that are high school seniors, but like, if you can get a guy out of the portal who's bigger, stronger, older, like Josh Simmons, like, I think that potentially could be more efficient and be better. Again, it's kind of like Jakeem Stewart. Like, Jakeem Stewart obviously is a 2026 number 1 player in the country. Reclassifies to 2025, but you're going to have to pay him a fortune. I mean, it's going to be a 7-figure deal to get him. And if you get him, say Ohio State gets him, and they pay him a fortune, all of a sudden, then you got to look at the guys in the locker room, the guys in the D-line room. Do they need to be reevaluated and have their pay adjusted? And for 2, I don't know. Like, I think that it's tough when you get, like, because like big guys outside of speed edge rushers usually need some time to develop and be ready to be proficient in the college program. Like, if Jakeem Stewart was a senior and he had another year of maturity, another year through puberty, I'd be way more excited about going after him. But when these guys reclassify, and Nevada, correct me again. You've been around football longer than I have, and you study this as much as I do. Like, when guys reclassify, I really think that it hurts them severely. I think that they've got this mindset, and I think that they get advice where it's like, hey, if you get to college quicker, you get NIL, you can make some NIL money. You can get to the draft a year earlier. But I think like if Ohio State signed Jakeem Stewart, which I don't think we're going to, he might be at the end of the rotation. But when you're a 18-year-old kid going against Big Ten offensive guards that are 22, 23, like it's not going to end up well. What are your thoughts about it? Samuel, he just meant, when he's talking about some of the reevaluating the NIL stuff, he said he meant, why not go big on the O-line? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's funny because, to me, I think spending money on the offensive line, it's counterintuitive because I just think to me, and again, this is just might be a minority view, understand that, but this is my worldview is that's a late bloomers, blue collar, low star type of thing. I mean, that's where you want to be, planting your seeds on the offensive line, because I think those are the kids that you've got the highest and best chance to get a good return on, as opposed to the out of state 5-star big time players. And for me, I would rather deploy that money towards quarterbacks and wide receivers, because you don't have an unlimited. If you had an unlimited amount of money, you just spend it all on everybody. But I think for the offensive line, I like the blue collar thing. I like getting the Burt Cartons and bringing them in and developing them along there, and the Pat Elflines, the Billy Prices, the Daryl Baldwins, the Jacoby Borans, the DeJuan Jones. I mean, just go down the list. There's just like so many guys to name. But that's how I'd approach offensive line. So for me, it's probably the last place that I'd be deploying big money is offensive line, because I don't think it's a good cultural fit with what offensive linemen are supposed. Offensive linemen aren't supposed to have Louis Vuitton bags and their own clothing lines and stuff like that. They're just not. They're supposed to be different. And maybe that's just, I'm an old head, and that's a view that went out of style 30 years ago. But that's how I view it, and that's what I feel.
It's because you're an old hater. That's all it is.
I do. I hate offensive linemen.
Get off my lawn. I hate Louis Vuitton. I hate offensive linemen. I hate it all. All
yes,
right.
Yes, I do.
Let's wrap this up. Louis Vuitton Don, Nevadabuck. What are your thoughts on the rest of the night? I mean, we've got some Sunday night, or Thursday night football kicking off. We've got your boys playing tonight. Do you think he can get it done? Because that is an interesting bet, because the Texans are dogs in this, and your boy is he got to win the rest of them to get into the playoffs. Your boy A-Rod. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm betting them. I know this isn't a betting show, but I am betting the money line on the Jets. I do think they'll. I mean, the Texans are just like ravaged with injuries. The game's in the Meadowlands. I think the Jets defense is pretty good, and I think A-Rod will find enough. He'll find some magic to bring it back. He does have Devontae and Garrett, even though they lost Lazard. So I think he'll find it one more time. So I'm betting the Jets on the money line.
You got a Chihuahua named Devontae running around your house, or is that the cat? The cat's named Devontae. Devontae.
No, the cat is Hazel. Hazel the cat. I gave Hazel her cat kibble and put her up in her room early so she would be meowing and attacking the Chiweenie here during the show.
He named his female cat Josh Jacobs. Josh.
I did.
Jacobs. Josh. Run, Josh, run. All right, let's go.
Quay Walker.
That would be the best if you named the girl cat Quay Walker, just because she's always lost and doesn't do anything.
Always lost.
You're like, oh wow. Hey, do you want to? It's like, I know you hate wasting money, but do you hate wasting first round picks too?
Yeah, I don't like that one at all.
Yeah, that is no fun. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Again, appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for all you guys do. Again, you guys are the absolute best. Another great night. Happy Halloween. Hope you guys are having a good time. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, the show is rolling. What a great night tonight. Another fun show with you guys. Thanks for the great super chats, as always. Again, you guys make this a huge show, again, because all that you guys do. I'm trying to grow this thing. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. I apologize if you hear my kids running around upstairs. They sound like Godzilla up on my roof. So I appreciate you guys being a part of this and enjoying the character that the show has. When we have cats meowing and my kids running around going ballistic, it's always kind of fun. It's a little bit of a character for the show. We'll call it that. So, but again, I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys had a very happy Halloween. Hope you took your kiddos trick-or-treating. They had a good time. Ours had an amazing time. We had my 7-year-old was the Mandalorian, and my 3-year-old was Boba Fett. So it was absolutely hilarious to see them walk around, and they had a blast, got all kinds of good stuff. So shout out to all you guys that take care of these kids when they run around, getting some free candy and having a good time. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. It's going to be a little early. We're going to go at 5 because I got to get to a high school football game at 7. So if you guys have a great night, go Bucks.